Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Urban Stage's Artist Chat. That's a mouthful. It's always hard to say articulately. Anyway, today we are celebrating a new series that Urban Stages is putting up called Heroes and Villains. And it's going to be a series of 8 6 to 10 minute monologues. And today I'm spending time with one of the amazing playwrights, Mr. Scott Sickles. Hi, welcome.
Hello,
Thank you for being with us. I really appreciate it.
happy to be here.
Good. Firstly, tell us about you. Who's Scott? What's your background? What things have you written? Are you also an actor, director? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Okay, all about me. I've been writing plays for a while now, since the late '80s, and I have many short plays and several full lengths. One of which I actually started writing in the '90s, and it remained unproduced for 24 years, and that yeah 24 years, and then finally got its debut production was a professional debut at the Repertory Theater of St. Louis. So I actually broke that bit of ground. It's a biographical play about E.M. Forster called Nonsense and Beauty. um, Excuse me. And Yeah, but in the meantime, I've written and produced a lot of off Broadway. I was with a developmental company for in Midtown Manhattan for 12 years. Actually, I was with the company for about 14 years. And Yeah, I have I usually write for most of the time I've been writing straightforward realistic comedies and dramas, but in the past few years I've branched out into genre writing, into horror, and mostly speculative science fiction. So that's been
Cool.
nice. That's
Cool.
been good. And yeah, I have acted, I have directed. I wouldn't call myself a practitioner of either, but I have done both. I'm really good at it. If you need someone to read your stage directions, I'm your guy. Yeah.
Well, it's actually good to have that kind of background no matter what level if you're playwriting, because then you bring those skills and know what your actor and your director is going to be coming to you with the questions and all that. How did you get into writing? Did you study it in school? Were you always someone that journaled? How did you become
I was
a
always
writer?
I was always someone who wrote stories. I
Mm-hmm.
remember writing stories as a fiction as far back as elementary school, and all of all of that work mercifully no longer exists. So I can't even look at it. Just like, okay, I'm sure it reflected my experience at the time,
Yeah.
all 7 years of my life. But yeah, it was yeah, I had always been a storyteller, and I think I started getting into playwriting it's seriously in college. We had an intro to dramatic lit course that the assignments were to write short scenes, and that sort of spurred me on to write more.
Mm-hmm.
And I took the playwriting course there. I was at the University of Pittsburgh, and then I went to grad school at Carnegie Mellon School of Drama, and got my MFA there. But yeah, I've always been a storyteller.
Are you a native New Yorker?
No, I'm actually a native Pittsburgher.
Oh,
So
our
yeah,
neighbors.
so
Yeah.
born, raised, and educated in the Berg, and then I moved here in 1996. So this is going to be this September is a 25th anniversary.
I think once you hit 25, you can officially consider yourself a New Yorker for,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think so. I'm
I
from Connecticut originally, so I consider myself a New Yorker now. I've been here
yeah.
longer. Yeah. Tell me about this process. So your monologue is called The Time You Were Away. And I understand from Barra Swain, the gal that put this whole series together and is producing the series, that you were given a list of quotes from comic books or movies or whatever of hero and or villain quotes. Now you don't have to share what that is if it's going to be a spoiler alert, but tell me what you thought of the process, and did that excite you and how it inspired you to end up writing The Time You Were Away.
Um, yeah, well, I mean, we were given a list of quotations, and they were just a starting off point,
Hmm.
but we did choose one that was on that list. And we were also, I was assigned an actor, Danielle Bourgeois, who was wonderful. And
And you didn't know your actor or your director that you were, this is part of the process of just bringing three people together to create.
exactly, yes, I don't think they knew each other. I did not know either of them.
Hmm.
And that was very exciting.
It is, yeah.
It really is because, yeah, as speaking for myself, I sometimes I feel like, oh wow, I've switched genres twice, and now I've written the same play in three different genres, and then over and over again. So here, having a new specific voice to write for is
Hmm.
very inspiring, and then having the quote be a prompt means that you can get away from. I love these random prompts because you're kind of forced into or inspired to write something that you normally wouldn't have written otherwise.
Hmm.
And that's the case with this. And it's and the quote we did choose was an Albert Schweitzer quote. So a heroic,
Hmm.
a quote from someone considered heroic. And the quote is happiness is nothing more than good health and a bad memory. And I love that. And Danielle and I were talking about the kinds of roles that she normally plays and what she would like to play but never gets to play. And she said that she usually plays, sort of you know the heart on the outside, sweet on the inside
Yeah. The tough
people,
girl with a heart,
the
right?
tough girl with a heart. And I
Yeah.
was like, well, how about a character who is nice on the outside yet has no heart at all? And that'll be the flip side of that. And when she read that quote to me, I said, wow, that sounds like something you say to someone you've just roofied. And yeah,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
we run from there. It is not an assault play. I will
Hmm.
tell you that much. But there are memory altering drugs involved, and Danielle's character is very chipper, and she's someone who is a villain but thinks she's a really good hero.
Oh, that's funny.
It was a hoot to write, and
So what
great.
I'm hearing is you met with Danielle first to discuss what you just told us about, and then went off and wrote, and then brought the director in thereafter. And how was the process of meeting the director after that? I,
Um,
I find it fascinating because everybody's process was a little bit different in this quick scenario of getting something together. You know.
Yeah, yeah, because I did not know Christine at all, and then we just sort of met on a Zoom call, and
Hmm.
it was and I think we got along pretty well right away, so
Cool.
that was good. And it was pretty simple. It was I wish it were like a more interesting, tumultuous story, but we kind of met on the Zoom call, read the play, and had a really good time. And what was great is that Christine had she had she came prepared, and she had thoughts and ideas about how she wanted to stage it, as it were. We were talking about the environment, and about how it would look, because it has to take place in a windowless room.
I see.
Yeah, it is actually set in a basement room, and and so the space that Danielle was using, we had to find it. It had windows, so we actually had to find the right angle
Hmm.
to do everything. And it's a monologue that is spoken to another person, and we needed to decide. They needed to decide um, whether she was going to deliver the monologue like as though the camera
Hmm.
was the person she was talking to, or and they decided very well to very correctly to have the the person she was talking to sort of off to the side,
Mm-hmm.
and it really it really works quite nicely. And they did get back to me. Christine got back to me about like some the order of some lines that were not working,
Mm-hmm.
and we switched that. And there was another section where it was just a speech with a little too much detail that she didn't need to get into now, and I believe we cut that. I
Cool.
think it's in some takes and not others.
This whole way of creating art during COVID has really changed for a lot of us. I'm a singer, so I'm trying to learn how to do everything that way and still produce good work. So the set design, I guess, when you're in this flat situation, is really important to add depth and texture to what, not just talking heads, especially when you're doing a series of 8 monologues. You don't want them all to look the same. So I applaud you for being so open to the director's vision and vice versa of the script tweaks and stuff like that. It sounds like just such a fun process. This whole thing sounded like it was so much fun.
It was so much fun. I'm kind of sad it's over. It's just like, we rehearsed it. We rehearsed it together, then they rehearsed it by themselves,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not a playwright that hovers.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have enough opinions when I'm there. You don't need my opinions all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Even I would be annoyed. So it was great to sort of to get there and get introduced to it, and then come back later and see what they had thought up with
Mm-hmm.
movement, and with the uh, just how really
Camera angles and
like,
blocking
yeah, the
and
mise en scène, yeah, well,
yeah,
like what was in the frame,
yeah.
how she entered the room, and even though the play doesn't necessarily take place during COVID, you could set it anytime.
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, Danielle enters wearing a mask. She has been elsewhere,
Mm-hmm.
um, and um, and so I think that really sort of broadened the scope of the world, where it wasn't just like this room floating in space.
Mm-hmm.
There is the outside world, and here we are. And I think it really enhanced the isolation that else was that she had someone else stuck in that room.
Mm.
And
Tell me about how you came to Urban Stages. Had you done anything for us before or been part of our series or?
Urban Stages and I, we kind of go way, way, way back. The play that I mentioned before, Nonsense and Beauty, actually was done I think it was like 1999, 2000. It was actually done as a reading in the library series.
Oh,
Uh,
cool. Yeah, with Ilana. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. Was she there then?
Maybe not. It might have been pre Ilana Saltzman, but Ilana's doing that now for us. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because it was uh yeah, so, I mean, it was 20 years ago. And
Wow.
yeah, so that's nuts. But then a few years ago, Bara reached out to me, and wanted to see if I wanted to do something in the other heroes, in the first Heroes and Villains series
Right. Yeah.
that we did on stage. And again, that was a terrific time. And I wrote a piece called Hand on Heart, about two people on a college campus dealing with a failed suicide bombing.
Mm.
And one of them is trying to save the terrorist who tried to blow themselves up, and in order to stay calm, she needs her friend to talk to her, and the entire reason her friend wanted to talk to her that day was so he could ask her out. So he wanted to ask her out, but she's unfortunately like giving CPR to this person who just tried to blow them up.
Oh my goodness.
Uh,
I'm really happy for you all to see what Urban Stages will ultimately put up on the website, because they do a really great job. We just did Winter Rhythms, and they do a great job with the intro and outro and the interviews. And this little interview is just a prelude to it, where people can see and get a little sense of the artists behind the scenes. But the way they present you, it's very, very exciting, I think, and I think you're going to be very happy watching it and having your friends and family watch it. I want to ask you, because it seems like I read down your bio, it seems like you're very active in the LGBTQ community. Do you write anything in relation to that community, or is this just your work and your outreach?
I actually um, most of my involvement is actually through through the writing.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm what people generally refer to sometimes with disdain as a slacktivist. I do things, as much as I can at home,
Mm-hmm.
especially during the. I'm a member of several COVID high risk groups, so actually going out to a protest was not really
Mm-hmm.
a big option. But I I do try to represent most of my full length plays. The M. Forster bio being one of them. A lot of the dramas that just come from inside me. Those are all LGBTQ plays, specifically plays. Um, I think the little alphabet that we use
Mm-hmm.
represent has a much broader scope than what I'm actually doing. But because most of the plays I wrote focus on relationships and are frequently love stories between gay men that have some sort of underlying social context.
Mm-hmm.
That it's the things that they're dealing with. And I'm very proud of a work that I just self-published called "Playing on the Periphery: Scenes and Monologues for and about queer kids." And it's I wrote I just happened to write almost by accident one day a monologue called "All of the Napkins Are Wet," because I picked up a bunch of napkins and they were wet,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, this is a title, and what came to me was the story of this little girl who was at a tea party she didn't want to be at, and it was her tea party that she didn't want to host because she's in the third grade. She would much rather she's not into frilly dresses. She would much rather be catching tadpoles with her friend Zoe, and it's about what it's like to have feelings and attractions to members of your own gender or members of your own sex when you are very young. Because
Right.
I remember I remember crushes in elementary school. I remember having a huge crush in the third grade, which is why I said it then.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, this would be this is the thing that I wish I had when I was that age. So so I wrote this series of four monologues, one for each of the characters, and then three plays, one for the boys, one for the girls, and one where all four of them are together. There's two boys, two girls, and then I put that out there, and hopefully people are seeing it. I know a lot of friends have like bought multiple copies and are recommending them to schools, so that's
How
nice.
can someone get a copy of this book? Are you on
Amazon.com.
Amazon? Good for you. Okay.
I'm on Amazon. Yeah, I published it through Kindle Direct Publishing.
And the
So,
name of it again is?
playing on the periphery,
Okay,
uh,
great.
monologues and scenes for and about queer kids. So,
Super. Now, just closing up this interview a little bit, what would your hope be that your little piece, this monologue that you've created with these two wonderful women, what would your hope be that someone like me coming to see it would take away from the work that you're putting up for this particular series, Heroes and Villains?
it's interesting because that's a great question because I thought of it strictly as an entertainment. I don't really think about uh, theme a lot. I just want to tell the story, and the theme usually just sort of comes out of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think here it's sort of be cautious when dealing with narcissists, because the character I wrote for Danielle is is a narcissist, and narcissists can be very charming, outwardly very giving, but they're the kind of people who do things. They jump in and help specifically so you can thank them, and they can say it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a story about a woman who has done. She's basically, metaphorically speaking, she has set a huge fire so that people can thank her when it's put out. Um,
Gotcha.
and yeah, and so that she can be there for her family when it's all over. And
Is that where the title comes from?
um, yeah, the title comes from uh,
What she supposedly did while they were
well,
away?
yeah, what she did. Well, actually, it's not. I can tell you this much: that there's an abduction involved,
Okay.
and the time you were away
Okay.
is, yeah, yeah, because that's not too much of a spoiler because you find out almost right away.
Okay, cool. Well, Scott, it's been so nice just getting to talk to you and get to know you a little bit, and I really can't wait to go watch this monologue. I was just sent all the clips, so I'm going to spend some time tomorrow watching them. And I hope that all of you out there will join in for this entire series. There are, like I said, 6 to 10 minute monologues that are going to be happening starting February 5th at 7:15 on urbanstages.org. And if anybody wants to get in touch with Scott, you can reach out to me and I'll put you in touch with him for a writing project or whatever else you might want to be interested in hiring him for. And please get his book on Amazon.com. Thanks again for spending a few minutes with us, and I wish you every success in the future and with this particular monologue. Thanks for doing this, Scott.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Have a nice night.